Hey Beth, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Um, I was given an option to either join as a panelist or an attendee.
Oh, I have a bunch of people over in the attendee list.
Oh, well, that was weird. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe it recognized my email or something, but
Yeah, yeah, that's weird.
yeah, I'd never seen that before.
Yeah, me neither. Well, let me know, if you see oh, sorry. Let me know if you see somebody over there that you want me to cross over.
Yeah, okay.
So I'll just kind of be watching behind the curtain.
Probably have to have Sally join as an attendee eventually.
I brought my channel changer from TV. You never know what you're going to walk out with. There we go.
Beth, you can bring Kathleen O'Leary over as well.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Lisa.
I'm just going to stay muted, so I'll just kind of hang.
Yeah. But we might need you, so.
Well, good luck. You can do it.
Hey, Kathleen.
Hey, good evening.
Hi, Kathleen.
So I have Molly Wheelock is also going to present, and then I brought two other people with me, Mark Hall and Mary Ellen Carlo.
Oh, okay.
Mark is a board member. In case
Okay.
people have questions for him.
We will definitely jump them over. We can just jump them over when you're presenting.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you for letting me know.
Huh, there's already 15 people on.
Beth Randy's out there. Oh,
There
you
you
see him.
Well, I thought this was the place to be Thursday at 6, right?
Yeah, man.
If you're in Clear Creek County, this is it.
We should have live music.
I'm hoping for AC/DC.
Yeah, you're out of luck. Maybe an AC/DC cover band.
Yeah. Yeah. I doubt they can play that stuff anymore.
Kathleen, you're all set, right? Because I saw you in the chat, but you're set, right?
Yeah, I've got a PowerPoint that I guess I'm just planning on sharing from my screen. Is that how we're going to do this?
Yeah, you should be
Okay.
able to do that. Yeah.
Well,
Yep.
then we're all set. Thank you.
Good. I see Jody Hatman is one of the participants. She's the next door neighbor. And she has questions from the neighborhood. Right, and then there's all the others.
Yeah, we'll get started here after 6 o'clock once we see everyone who we need to see, and we'll get going.
Hmm. I'm going to take a 60-second powder to find one device that I seem to be missing here, so I'll be right back.
Hello.
Hi, George.
Hey, George.
They need to people on this. Yeah, you guys can do it.
That was quicker than I thought. Right before you came on, George, I said I was taking 60 seconds to find my device here. So I
He was back in like 7
it was
seconds.
light. It must be.
That's
getting
good news about your post-surgery knee, I think.
That's it. I was up the stairs and down like Thanos or something. You know, it was amazing. Actually, I found it in my pocket.
We are very close to having most of the staff people here. We need to get started. And So I see Peter out there. We can bring him over.
We are expecting Sean, is that correct?
Oh, and there's Stoy is here too. We should bring him over. I'm hoping Sean is going to attend. I'm not 100% certain.
I thought so. I didn't think he had a conflict.
I just texted him. I'll let you know.
Well, at 6:02, I'm thinking maybe we should just get started here. And we have a fair number of folks in the attendee side, so that's great. I want to welcome everybody tonight. We're going to get started with this public meeting, a community meeting to talk about the property at 445 West Dumont Road, review some proposals that we've received. My name's Amy Saxton. I'm the Division Director of the Strategic and Community Planning Group at Clear Creek County. I want to take a little bit of time to welcome you, talk about the purpose tonight. Our purpose is to review these proposals, and we do have some goals that we want to cover. And those are to get your input on these proposals. We want your input. We want to get some reaction from you about them. We also want general reaction from you as the community about the use of the property. And specifically, we'd like to hear from you about how you feel about the use of this property for housing, and specifically affordable housing. Is it a priority? Where do you stand? What are your concerns? Really, that's what we'd like to hear from you about tonight. I also want to take a few minutes to review the agenda. I'm going to share my screen and just go over it with you so you can get a picture of how we've planned the evening and how we're going to go through the night together. We'll plan on taking about 2 hours, and we think we'll use the time. And if not, then we'll go home early. Here's what I have to share tonight. Let's see here. So this is the agenda that we put together. As I mentioned, we're going to review the agenda, which we are doing right now. And I want to note that we have a strike through down here. One of the proposers has dropped out of the RFDP process. The Morrison Group, who submitted the proposal known as Proposal 3, has dropped out. We'll still welcome your comments on that because the material that they propose may still, raise a concern or give you a particular thought or trigger something in your mind. And we would still welcome your feedback on that. It's material that is out in the public domain now, so it could still be relevant. So you're welcome to share your comments on that. They will not be presenting tonight nor moving forward with in the selection process. So that's a pretty relevant little nugget about the agenda. We'll talk a little bit about how the evening will be structured, how the Zoom format will work for public comment, introduce the staff present, talk a little bit about the background of the project, hear from the commissioners. Then we'll hear from the proposers. They'll present, go over what they have proposed, and give you an opportunity to ask them questions. I will offer a little bit of a recap on the comments that have appeared so far, and we will respond to some of the concerns that came up, especially some of that were consistent concerns that were mentioned in the comment period. And we'll highlight the results of the survey that many of you may have participated in. And then we'll open it up to public comment, and that will be, we'll talk about that in a moment, and then we'll wrap up, have some closing remarks, and move on to a description of what we'll do next from there. So I want to talk a little bit about how the meeting will be structured. Like I said, we'll do the Q&A period, and those of you who are on the attendee side, you can raise your hand to with the raise hand button down below. You can also use the Q&A feature at the bottom. I can't remember whether it's called chat or Q&A, but you do have an opportunity to type in a question, and you can decide how you would like to ask that question. Beth Luther, our handy dandy manager of the Zoom meetings, will work on moving over people who have questions or who have raised a hand. And we'll try to move over a couple people at a time so that we don't have delays in between moving people over. And then you can ask your questions. We'll do our best to move people through and facilitate the conversation, and keep things going along. And then we'll scoot you back over so we can keep all the folks in the room on screen and able to approximate a real room as best we possibly can. And then with the public comment period, we'll structure it similarly to how we would do it in a BOCC meeting with a 3-minute limit on the time period. And we'll do our best to hold to that and ask you to be as respectful as you can, so all of the folks here have a chance to contribute. And if it does happen that either you feel like the 3 minutes constrains you or you don't get a turn, the public comment period on the forum page will remain open until August 31st at least, if not beyond that. And so you can enter a comment at any length on that forum as well. Let's see here. I just want to introduce some of the staff that are present, and you can just smile and wave. We have Sally Rush, our housing coordinator, George Marlin, County Commissioner, Randy Wheelock, also a County Commissioner. We have Stoy Streepy, who's our County Engineer, Peter Lickman, County Attorney, Lisa Laban, Special Projects Manager, Director, and our County Manager, Brian Bosshart, is here. He's sitting outside, it looks like. That's good. And Beth Luther, who I don't know if she wants to show her face, but she's sitting behind the Clear Creek County screen there. And we are all here to help answer questions that you might have tonight, and have all worked together to help convene this public meeting. So then I wanted to I'm almost done, I promise. I wanted to share a little bit about the background of this project. And we won't go into too much detail, but I did want to explain a little bit that this is the property that we're talking about. The county's owned it for about 5 years. Another highlight, I think, is that we did do a community input process in 2018 and got some general feedback from the community on what people thought about using the property, what kinds of uses we might have for the community, the church that was on the property, that the building in particular. Another highlight, I would say, over the past 5 years is that we did a feasibility study of what kind of things can be done on this property. And then how we got to this particular place was we had a proposal come in, we obtained a broker opinion, and based on the opportunities that were presenting themselves, we wanted to make sure to do our due diligence. And so we published a request for development proposals. And what you will be presented with tonight is the result of that proposal, that request for proposals. Anybody have anything to add to that? Great. So then I want to also give the commissioners an opportunity to offer a few remarks. Peter, I know I wanted to see if you wanted to have anything, if you wanted to offer anything as an introduction to that.
So just prior to the commissioner speaking, I wanted to let the public know that the commissioners won't actually express an opinion one way or the other tonight on the actual presentations or the proposals that have been submitted. This is a learning session for them. So although they may be able to answer some of the questions, you're not going to hear them talk specifically about supporting a particular project tonight. It's not that stage of the process at all. So I just wanted to kind of mention that so that the public knows not to expect certain things from the commission.
Great, thank you. So then I thought we could just give you guys, George and Randy, a chance to just maybe offer whatever opening comments you might have tonight. Randy, you want to go?
Randy, I did go first this morning. Why don't you go ahead and kick us off?
Well, I have no prepared comments, so I'm going to try to shorten the meeting as much as I can. I think Peter said it well when he said that we have little to bring to, we don't make decisions tonight. The main thing is we've seen these proposals, read through them, understood, seen written public comment that's come in various format. And really tonight is more fact finding. This is actually our first time to have the proposers come to us and also give us the opportunity to understand their proposals in their own words, and then also take public comment and understand that, and let that public comment, especially that of the people who live in the area, you know, the people that are most impacted and stakeholders, be able to inform us, so that we can then take all of that back and make an informed decision. And then later on, we'll decide whether to select, if to select, and what proposal to select. And then I would say, as far as our orientation, we know that we want to see a good use of this land, and we do have priorities that are for housing. We know that. And so we'd like to hear what the proposers have to say to us this evening to, you know, explain in further detail their proposals.
Yeah, maybe I'll just start by expressing some gratefulness to our staff and the people who responded to the RFP, as well as all of the attendees who are here. I'll be listening intently tonight. I think there's a couple of things that really you can help me understand, or help us understand. One is projects like this are complex, and I can guarantee there's something that we haven't considered, and one of you might be able to point something out that makes this better. Second, I want to listen really carefully to understand how you feel about the character of your community. The master plan is very clear about defending the character of a community, and I want to hold to that, and it's really up to you to help us understand that community character. And so that's my commitment to you in this meeting, is that we're going to listen carefully, we're going to say very little, and seek to understand. I think that that's probably sufficient.
Great. Well, thank you, George. I think with that, then we can move into proposer presentations. And Beth, can you bring Mike Castor over if you're out there?
And also, I believe Tammy Marazia may be presenting tonight. Is she here? She texted in the chat that she's presenting tonight. I'm not sure who she is.
Oh, is she with you, Mike? Tammy? You're on mute, Mike.
Unmute?
Now you're not, yes.
All right. Well, she hasn't signed in yet. I'll fill in for her, but she's supposed to sign in a little bit.
Tammy, is she with you?
She's not with me. She's at another location.
Oh, I mean, is she presenting with your?
Oh yeah, she's supposed to.
Okay.
She's supposed to be presenting
Thanks,
later
sorry.
on.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Well, she is here, and we can have her join right now if you'd like.
I'll have. Okay, there she comes,
There
it
she
sounds.
comes. Yep. Yeah. So Mike, it is, you are, you are up. It is your turn to present.
Oh, okay. Do you have my PowerPoint ready?
Yeah, Sally can share that screen.
Okay. Uh-oh. All right. All right. I'm Mike Castor, and I'm an architect in Dumont, where I have a shop for prefabricating mini modulars. And we'll be joined by Tammy Marasia, who's a realtor with offices in the Idaho Springs Visitor Center, and she will be discussing duplexes later. Next slide, please. The community design is based on a historic style village around a park, like Idaho Springs or Georgetown, with alleys that hide cars. The rec center is currently looking for a park in Dumont, so that's a nice coincidence. And the mini community center, I'm calling it mini because there may not be enough demand for a full community center. So we'll just have a community room adjoining the park. So if you look at the in the center, the mini community center, and I don't know if you can see where it says community porch, but that overlooks the Greenway Park. And then I think it would be more advantageous to have senior co-housing. And then I got an email from Lori Beckel about the possibility of a daycare center, which I think is a good idea. Next slide, please. Some of the Clear Creek community benefits are diversity with a mix which reflects county demographics, including seniors, families, and workforce. One of the concerns I have with the habitat proposal is that it's catering, it says mostly to older people, but I think that there's a real need in this county for workforce housing, and I think that we want to respect the Dumont neighborhood, but not necessarily cater to them. I think that we should really be looking at the county at large more so than just making the people in the Dumont neighborhood happy. And I think that their agenda is a little bit less diversity, and I really think that we should be looking at serving the needs of the overall county first. The plan also has flexible feasibility. It started with 40 units because the county study on the property started with 40 units, or 42 units actually. And even at that feasibility, it said it's barely feasible and just give it away. The other proposals have 20 units, but I think that's driven by the fire marshal's extra requirements above 20 units. So I think they just took the path of least resistance and just put 20 units in because 20 units is less for the neighborhood, and that makes them happy. And it meets the fire marshal's requirements, but I just don't think that it gives enough bang for the buck to the county. I think a good compromise might be 30 units, but land with sewer that supports multifamily is hard to find. And multifamily can also have rentals that serve the workforce community, the workforce, and we have a real shortage of labor right now, and a lot of it is because there's not enough workforce housing. So I think, yes, we should respect the neighborhood, and I am respecting it with the historic design and scale, for instance, duplexes that look like houses and not having fourplexes and that kind of stuff that looks more multifamily, really trying hard to give it a good feel that fits in the neighborhood. But on the other hand, I think that we have to think about, feasibility. What is most fair for the county overall, not just for a few. Next slide, please. Here is our housing types, where to the left I'm showing the mini modular cabins. Now the cabins are 400 square feet, and then you can expand to 1,000 square feet with garages in back with bedrooms above. And that's kind of what you see, but it's an intimate scale in front of the community center, which is only 1 story. And then we keep all of the larger scale stuff behind the community center so that it's a little bit more hidden from the neighborhood. And if you notice the duplex to the very left, we're designing duplexes that look like houses in a mountain style so it fits in with the neighborhood. So we're working hard to make this thing fit in the neighborhood, but here again, I think that there needs to be compromise instead of just winner take all. The senior co-housing is in the mini center, the mini community center in the middle. And you can kind of see where you come in, and there's the entry courtyard that goes into the kind of mini senior center with the senior co-housing. And you can see that around the park, next to the park, there's the community porch, which would be more public. And then in the middle could be the daycare center that would have its own playground behind the community center. And then here again, the duplexes to the very right have more of a scale that fits in with the neighborhood and feel like single family. Next slide, please. This really kind of zooms in on the, I call them new urbanism cabins, because you can kind of see how this has a little bit more of a historic flavor to it, and a bit smaller scale that fits in front of the 1-story community center. And the cars are hidden behind it. So once again, it looks more like a Georgetown or emulates more of an Idaho Springs kind of community feeling with a park in front. Next slide, please. This is a mini modular cabin. And this is a new concept where people can get their foot in the door for home ownership. It starts at 400 square foot, but is expandable to 1,000 square foot. And the 400 square foot would go for about 200 in the 200,000 range, which would give people an opportunity. And it's 1 bedroom with loft above. It's kind of like 1 level above a tiny home and 1 level below a regular home until you expand it. But it would give people the ability to come in at monthly payments around $1,000 that would look more like apartment rent than a big mortgage. So it would be kind of a crawl, walk, run solution to people that normally wouldn't be able to qualify in the housing market. Next slide, please. This is a floor plan of the cabin, 1-bedroom cabin, and then it has a loft above. This, once again, with expandability, we could take out the wall of the bedroom, just unbolt it, and have bedrooms above a garage so that you have a bigger great room. Or you could grow the bedroom into a master bedroom, which would be good for seniors, everything all on 1 level. So flexibility is one of the big keys to the design here. Next slide, please.
Hi,
And
so
now the duplexes.
I'm going to jump
The
in.
duplexes for Tammy.
Yeah, thank you so much. First of all, thanks everyone for being on this call and all you do, because you do a really lot of work, y'all, and I'm not sure you get thanked enough. So there's your thanks. But let's talk about duplexes in this community. This community needs to maybe do some duplexes, because anyone in this room or on this call could go get a duplex. And what happens is you can rent the other side. So I, as a homeowner, can go in and purchase one, and I can also have a rental that will help me with my mortgage. It also creates lease rental space for, like we said, I think the most important thing is affordability. I am doing real estate 17 years. People are getting pushed out of our state. Nothing is affordable anymore, I'm sorry to say. So with 200,000, we can go to 300,000. That's about $1,700, maybe $1,800 in payment at a 4% interest. You can rent the other side. They can be 2 2s, they can be a 1 and 1 on the other side to get in that 300,000. How do we get there? Lending is fairly okay right now, because I can get construction loans. Just like it was a new community, I can come in and have a construction loan. You can sign up and see if you qualify, and we can get you into one of these duplexes. And then again, make sure that you have some rental income, and that helps with the seniors. Seniors maybe are going to rent. Maybe they don't want to take care of a house. Maybe they do want a house. The workforce wants rentals. So the duplexes are kind of a nice little opportunity. Also, we want to make sure that this is a community collaborative effort, meaning history is very important. History should be throughout the community there. Just with your founder, Colonel Dumont, he should be, you know, we should have people who have put a lot of energy and time and made Dumont important. It should be throughout this community center, maybe, you know, name a building after them, maybe name some of our actual models after the names of people that have helped to grow Dumont. Also, we want to put some we want to make sure that gardens are involved, fishing, teaching fishing and hunting, and local art and museum. This is the trend I've helped with other grants. I did Happy City to bring it into Idaho Springs. I've worked in Clear Creek for about 8 years. So we've done the city, we brought in people from, you know, who know about this. So I think, again, I'd be honored to be a part of this community project, maybe throw a little solar in there. So we don't have high electric bills either. We can get those included. Thanks.
I guess that's next slide, isn't it?
You guys are right at just over 10 minutes. So if you are wrapping up, that'd be great.
Okay.
So we can get some Q&A in.
All right.
This is just another picture of it.
This plan benefits Clear Creek County at large, not just the neighborhood. Here again, we're respecting the neighborhood, but there are other priorities in Clear Creek County that need to be considered, and we're addressing them, such as workforce housing, having a park, the possibility of the community center with a daycare, and here again, maybe the community center it needs to be smaller because there's just not enough demand. And then catering to diversity rather than just seniors, because that's, you know, what the neighborhood is mostly, but to bring in more energy from young people, families, the workforce. And here again, the community park, the rec center is looking for a park right now, so this is a good opportunity. And that's all, folks.
Thank you, Mike. Very good. Sally, why don't you end the screen share? And we can open it up to questions for Mike and Tammy. Anybody in the, any panelists or attendees have any questions? You can raise a hand. Beth can bring you over. Comments? Looks like we have a couple raised hands on the attendee side. I see 2 hands, Beth, but don't know how to identify what that means. Oh, got Shane and Denise, both have hands raised.
Yeah, I see. Where's the water coming from? Well, first off, before we can determine how many units there are, whether all you can put in is 10 or you can put in 100, is that we have to do testing. And testing costs money, so we haven't started doing testing yet until we get a direction. But I'm pretty confident that the number of units, whether it be 40, 20, 30, I think it can be supported. But here again, we don't know the facts until we do testing.
And what water is one of the things, folks, that came up pretty consistently on the comments online. That was a concern about all the proposals, and that's something we'll touch on a little bit later. But I mean, the short answer is that it is a concern and a consideration and really a criteria for how we move forward with any rezoning process. And that is sort of one of the mechanisms for protecting the community and the neighbors and that natural resource of is that rezoning process, and how that criteria and consideration will be brought forward and considered, and really a criteria for how we move forward.
Let me point out something that maybe people couldn't see on the plan now that it comes to mind, but our proposal is to share units with Habitat. I mean, we think the Habitat coming in is great, just not the whole place. So just so people understand that side of it as well, we're kind of hoping that we could divvy it up fairly amongst the two of us.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see any other questions down there.
And then Shane, did you want to ask a question? You can unmute yourself, and you had raised your hand.
I see Joanne Sorensen has a question, but it was about water, and I think we already discussed it, didn't we?
Mike, I think we had brought over a couple of the attendees to ask questions. We have Shane had a question, I think.
Actually, I have a couple of them here.
Okay, now I can hear.
No,
go ahead, Shane.
You just talked about the water.
Mm-hmm.
But my concern is with that many units, and we're on well water, there's no fire hydrants. We know, everybody knows a while ago we had a fire. Didn't work out. We had 2 buildings burned to the ground because there's no fire hydrants. When you have 40 units or 30 units or 20 units, you're going to have that same problem. Out of the 3 proposals, the last one, which you said he dropped out, but he's the only one that mentioned about the county helping bring water into, tap water. The reason why I don't agree with that is because the county, by your own regulations, is not to pay for that. That is all on the developer to pay for that. So the county can somehow come up with that kind of money to bring that water in. There's plenty of other projects I can think of that needs to be done. Traffic is going to be a big issue here. Right in front of my house, it's a 1-lane road. And same thing with that fire. You have one way in, one way out. We had those fires. We couldn't get out. We were stuck here until the fire was out. So to me, that's a safety concern also. And then once you start widening the road, you got people's properties possibly being taken over, parts of it anyway. You start taking out mountains, and then you got rock fall all the time. You got, if you pave this road, or even if you just leave it dirt, you're going to have to maintain it more than you do now. I mean, I think they come by, if we're lucky, twice a year. Sometimes it's just once a year to grade it.
Yeah.
With that many cars, there's no way that once or twice a year is going to be feasible. And as far as the workforce goes, he said, I think Mike said that the biggest issue is the fact that there's no housing. Well, another big factor is wages. Nobody wants to come up from Denver to work for these wages. So this isn't just a housing problem. This is a business problem, in my opinion, because, why would you want to go come up to here to work for $10 an hour when you can drive to Summit County, or you can drive back to Denver and make more money? Even at the mine right now we're working, we have trouble we pay pretty good, and we can't get people up there to work. It's not because, it's not all because of housing, it's because people feel for what they're doing, they're not getting paid enough. But I think that's, the one other question I do have for both Habitat for Humanity and Mike is, if you build these things, they're low income. And let's say you put a well in or you put a fence in, whatever, and we get a wind and it blows the fence down. Who repairs that? Because low income's not going to be able to afford to upkeep a fence or replace a pump or repaint their house. Who's going to be upkeeping those?
Mhm.
That's my other question. And I believe that's it I have for now.
I have a question.
Sure, Denise, go ahead.
Yeah, with regard to the park that Mike was talking about, I don't know if he's talking about just, a park where kids or parents can visit, or if he's talking about shared use for recreational, like, soccer and that sort of thing. But having lived next to a park in years past, it brings a lot of cars, and where are they going to park? And a lot of neighbors that might be displaced. I don't know with regard to parking, but you'd have to really think about that if they were going to do youth sports and that sort of thing.
Yeah, good comment. Thank you. So I appreciate both those comments, and what I would like to propose is, because I think both of those comments actually apply probably to the greater concern about the use of the property and issues related to housing overall. And I want to give the, I feel like what we should probably do here is actually have Habitat also make their presentation, and then sort of circle back to the question and answer period here, so that we can let both the presentations get into the domain here and have that happen. And then if there are specific questions, it sounds like the questions are really about the use case overall so far. And so I think we should move on, and we will include addressing the concerns that Shane, you raised, and make note of the parking concern that you've raised, Denise, and address that as we recap and circle back on some of the overarching topics that we planned on addressing after both the proposers were done, and then continue to make that happen with the as we have the open public comment period a little bit later. Mike, did you want to say something? Okay.
I think he's having trouble with his sound.
Okay. Well, in the meantime, let's get started with Habitat's presentation. We need Molly Wheelock, Mark Hall, and Mary Ellen.
And then can I share my screen, Sally? Would that be okay?
Yes, you can share. You should have sharing capability.
Okay, well, welcome everyone. My name is Kathleen O'Leary. I'm the Executive Director for Blue Spruce Habitat for Humanity. And I have Molly Wheelock, who is our architect here with us, and Mary Ellen Carlo, who's our Development Director, and Mark Hall, who's one of our board members. Mainly Molly and I are going to be presenting tonight. So I'm going to take a little bit of time, talk to you about Habitat, and then Molly's going to talk to you about the design that she has come up with, an initial design for this property. I am really excited that I get to work in Dumont and hopefully, and work with the community. I've been a community resident. I live on Mill Creek Road. I've lived here for 22 years. So this is, I'm excited that I can bring Habitat to Dumont of all places. A little bit about Blue Spruce Habitat. We are your local Habitat for Humanity affiliate. We cover all of Clear Creek County, Western Jefferson County, from C470 up, and part of Park County. And we build homes, community, and hope. So we are a local nonprofit founded in 1990. We have a local board of directors. We have built 10 homes in Clear Creek County. We've got additional 10 homes either that we are building now or in planning for. So we are building workforce housing as well in Clear Creek County. I want everyone to know that. We do have experience with townhome developments and a little bit larger developments. We've done 10 townhome units in Kittredge, and we've done some in Evergreen. And then we've done a lot of other single family homes and duplexes as well. Affordable housing is what we do. Why us? That's what we do. We have a lot of current and local experience. We've really thought this through. And we've got a local presence here and local board with local oversight. So our team is myself and Lisa Cooper, who's our director of programs, Mary Ellen Carlo, who's our development director. And Mary Ellen, prior to working with us, worked for Senior Resource Center. So she has lots of experience working in that realm. And George Johnston, who's our construction manager, who actually lives up on Floyd Hill. And then I'll let Molly, when it's her turn to talk a little bit about her team if she would like. But as you know, she grew up in Clear Creek County. A little bit about our house pricing. I just wanted to give you guys some backgrounds. We always price our homes so they're affordable to the family at 30% of their income. So we hope, and that's our goal, that if a fence blows down, they have money now because they're in an affordable unit that they can pay to get it fixed. Or if a pump goes, they can pay to get it fixed because this is set at 30% of their income. If that does not equal the appraised value on the house, we'll put a silent second on the house that gets forgiven over 20 years as long as they stay in the house. So there's an example here, and we can go into that at a later time. If you guys have any questions, you can call me. It's also up on our website. Typically, we have a 30-year covenant on these houses, but for this project, we are placing these units into a land trust so that we have permanent affordability. We do require sweat equity, so you will hear that. So people come out and work on their own house. If they are unable to, we make a plan with them as to how they can do some volunteering with us. We've had people do crocheting. We've had people work at our restore. So we work with folks that is something that they can do. These are just some pictures. This is a local house that we have built in Empire for a teacher at Georgetown Community School. The duplex on the left is one that we built in Kittredge, and it won the AIA Denver Architects Choice Award when it was built. We do also have classes such as financial management, home maintenance, home ownership, and good neighbor for people as they go through our program. And then we also have started home preservation services. So if someone currently owns a home and they need help with repairs, or if they're a senior and they need help with some chores, we have those programs as well. This is what we look at for family selection: need, income, willingness to partner, and residency. They need to be local folks. And this is how we do it. Local volunteers, local funding, our restore. And now to get to the project. Our proposal is that we acquire the land and the building for $450,000 with a CDBG grant. We turn the building into a community center, and we are proposing that we have a community advisory board help us figure out what goes in there. We would rehab the building, and then we would place that building back into community hands somehow, either through a community land trust or something like that. But we're not proposing to sell this building. So I just want people to know that there's nothing in our proposal where we would get any of that money back. So we are proposing 450 and basically buying the land, taking the building, rehabbing it, having a community advisory board say what needs to go in there, and then bring it back to the community. We're looking at 20 units, approximately 1,100 square feet, owner occupied, for adults age 62 or greater. So someone had requested what the income levels would be for a household of two. That'd be $25,000 to $63,000 is what we'd be looking at. Homes would be sold at an affordable price, land placed into a land trust, and then there's the time frame.
Hey, Kathleen, can you give a quick
Yes.
Explanation of what a land trust is?
Sure. A land trust is a community organization that holds the land in trust. So what the seniors would be buying is actually the house, but not the land underneath. That would be held in trust. And that's the way to make sure that the land, number one, is maintained, but also that it's remains as an affordable house. So when they go to sell, they have to work through the land trust, and that keeps an affordable house. Does that help? Okay. Why seniors? And as you know, we have an aging population here in Clear Creek County. 25% of our adults are 25% of our county is 62 and older. It's even higher for 50 and older. And so that's what we're looking at. And as I said, we are building workforce housing already in the county. And at age 62, some of those people will be working, just so you know, but won't all be retirees. We imagine that probably about a third of those people will still be holding down jobs. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Molly.
Thanks, Kathleen.
Molly, are you there?
Can you hear me? Okay. Great. Thanks, Kathleen. My name is Molly Wheelock. I'm the founder and principal of Studio MW. We're a design and planning firm based in Paonia over on the Western Slope. I'm nonetheless forever tied to Clear Creek as a former cougar and gold digger. And I take pride in the work that Studio MW has done with Blue Spruce Habitat for Humanity for over, I think it's about 8 years now when we started the Empire Project. Our design team is a collaboration with Habitat, Studio MW, and Odyssey Engineering. Both Odyssey and I are Colorado-based firms that serve primarily rural communities throughout Colorado and the Southwest. So switching over to the design, as you can see here, our primary goal is to create a neighborhood that fits the out-of-town and rural character of Dumont, while also knitting together the individual homeowners and the larger community. We chose the 20 units. I think there's some truth to just the infrastructure needs that would be required for a larger development, but also based on the county zoning and how we would see shifting this into something similar to surrounding neighboring lots in an R3 zoning. And we worked out a bunch of different layouts, some with lesser and greater density, and arrived at 20 units kind of being a sweet spot where we could fit appropriate lot sizes, get some great open space, and preserve some of the existing wildlife corridors. The dark green are trees that we actually see as being planted with the development, and in the gray, which I'm unfortunately are kind of hard to see here, are existing trees. The new plan maintains all of the existing trees, and what we see is some existing wildlife corridors that kind of come around the community services building. The homes orient with the natural grade and for passive solar as much as possible. We designed a meandering cul-de-sac road and grouped the homes into clusters, creating smaller pocket communities within the neighborhood. Can I get a slide? Kathleen, do you have the PowerPoint?
Yeah, I moved it to the next slide. Is it not showing up?
And actually, well, this is kind of demonstrating one view of the community. Do you mind going to the next slide? To get used to this.
This is the community center?
Yep, we can go one back up. Well, so we chose to preserve the church building as an existing amenity. We believe it can serve both the Greenway Village and the Tri-City area. The proposed plan opens up the interior with 2 flexible community rooms, as well as dedicated spaces for food prep, exercise, a small library, and public meeting spaces. But truly, we are taking a stab at how we think it could be flexible. We are happy to hear that the daycare may have a new home, but we see this space being able to provide for services such as that. as well as being able to be a gathering space for the homeowners in the area. Next slide, please. While we could currently remove the old church and design in a couple of more homes, we believe this building will ground the development. Our vision is that as we age, we want to remain active and connected to our community and natural environment, but occasionally we all need a little help from our neighbor. Next slide. We've additionally designed each home to be universally accessible with a single level floor plan. This will help homeowners to be safe and comfortable in their homes for as long as possible. The concept design is a single versatile floor plan that works as a standalone house or a duplex. Next slide. This is the standalone version, one of them. It also accommodates variation to the roof design and changes to window and door placement, and works as well as a duplex. This concept will allow for an ease of construction and reduced costs while still accommodating a variety of style and personalization within the village. Next slide. And so this is a little bit more modern design. I think that obviously the history of Clear Creek County is important to me, and I think that these homes can cater to that history, but also celebrate the nature of a neighborhood, which is diversity and different styles, and give people the ability to really kind of define what the community is and define their own home space and define their future, as well as respect the history. We plan to partner with a prefab company to streamline the construction timeline and provide a quick and affordable professional process. Next slide. Thank you all for your time and your ear. I'm excited to listen and to hear about your vision for this property and answer any questions you may have. And I'll turn it over to Kathleen to wrap it up. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. So that's our presentation. We are excited to hear what you have to say. And so thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you, Kathleen. So yeah, I think if you have any questions specific to this presentation, we'd love to hear them. We also, if you also have questions that are more general, that's fine too. And those are fine to start now. If that ends up being the tone of the questions, we can sort of blend the agenda and be as responsive as we can here. And we'll hear what you have to say right now, though. What kind of questions do we have at this time? Does anybody have any questions for Kathleen or comments about the proposal? I see one hand raised. On the attendee side. Oh, Jody, I know, do you have, I see that you had in the comments you had something you wanted to share. And Shane, it looks like you have another question. Jody, why don't you go ahead and unmute yourself.
Sorry, it was frozen there for a minute.
No problem.
My name is Jody Hartman Ball, and I live at 363 West Dumont Road for the developers. I'm just going to read off. We had a meeting last Friday with a bunch of neighbors, and we've been talking to people that don't get out because of COVID. They don't do Zoom, they don't do the internet. So I'm just going to read off what we put together, and this kind of represents the Lawson, Dumont, and Downeyville area. As you all know, we had a community meeting about the subject and have many concerns, questions, and would like our ideas to be heard, even from the previous meetings with the county, which you did mention. I am here to represent my neighbors and friends that are not attending this meeting but wanted to be heard. I will read off what we all came up with. We are a community that likes to stay to ourselves and not live the city life. Most of our families here in the DLD area moved from Idaho Springs or Georgetown to get away from the city. The developers were knocking on our door right there at the football field, and that's why we actually moved here, because we knew the football field at some point would be developed, not, not knowing that the church would eventually be sold. The proposed property, formerly known as the LDS, has been subject for many years, starting with the Greenway to now. We've heard about ATV dirt biking trails to 4-story structures. We've been told to sacrifice for the greater of our community, but when we were asked for our input, we do not feel like we are being listened to. We are grandparents, parents, teachers, volunteers, and part of this community. We have expressed many times we would like to see an early child care facility in the old LDS building. If you would refer to the child care needs assessment done for the rec center, you will see why. There's a huge need in this community. I used to run a daycare back when my kids were little with Margie Marlin and some of the other moms, just to try to help that. So I know exactly what people are talking about. We have been, let me see here, sorry. If you would refer to the child care assessment, you'll see what we are talking about, that the friends and neighbors have moved out of this county to raise their kids where their needs are met. Child care, lack of activities for children to do, learning opportunities, and even feeling welcome to raise families here is hard to find. We have 7 trailer parks in our community that have low income locals. Why not try to fix up some of those trailer parks and give them what they need instead of moving them out? I know that some of those people are being forced out of their homes as well. Some of the locals have not submitted their concerns on social media due to harassment by others. We have been called special, degrading names since the Greenway was proposed, and even by some of our elected officials. We hope we are taken seriously as we have to live with your decisions. We, the county, put out the idea that 24 units should be, when the county put out the idea that 24 units should be considered and for affordable housing, did they do an impact study on environment, structure, noise, air, light, pollution, the fiscal impact study, water testing, utilities, traffic, or any other study before asking for bids back in April? We know there are issues with the housing here in Clear Creek as well as the entire state. There are 12 houses on this road and 6 of them do not have permanent residents. They are for recreational use, second homes to folks that do not live in our community. And this is just a small example. The entire county is filled with thousands of homes that are second, third, and even fourth homes for out-of-staters that obviously make more money where they live than the locals working 40 to 80 hours a week right here in Clear Creek. That to us is a problem. Think about that. A local that works in the community needs low-income housing while other people buying up the properties to rent out and pay for their investment in itself. We encourage the county to work on short-term rental control before asking us to sacrifice our way of living. Also, we feel like sacrificing the local businesses to make their money. We have lived here long enough that we remember the taxes were much lower and we actually had more for our community. Seems like we are chasing our tails and mostly losing. While a few are making big money, more housing, more people, more maintenance, more police, fire, and then the cycle starts all over again. We believe these projects will actually be a burden on the already stretched county resources. Let's get back to the concerns on the 3 proposed developments. Water is number 1. Where is the documentation that adequate water is supplied to this address? Article 6, Section 603.06, the applicant must be able to provide documentation of an adequate legal water supply. We don't see how you can add 3 times the population just to this road with wells. The wells in this area have been drying up as it is. Folks on the Lawson side are hauling in water, and the little house across from me sits vacant because its well is drying up. Nobody wants to live in a house with very little water to none. The only solution is to bring water from Georgetown, and I heard they're on water rationing. There are issues all over with folks even living by a river and not having any water. Water tables are very unpredictable. Number 2, widening the current road to the property, who pays for it? According to Article 12, Section 1406.02, subdivider may require to make improvements to the existing access road and the proposed subdivision to accommodate anticipated increase in traffic volume generated by the proposed development. Multiple access points to a subdivision are highly encouraged and may be required based on emergency services. I'm gonna skip this part. West Dumont Road is a 1-lane in and the same lane out. People have to pull over in all of our drives just to let others pass. There is no way one can add 20 units and expect not to widen the road. They are asking for trouble. We already have been impacted by extra traffic from tourists, especially during rafting season, Charlie's Place, and people going up four-wheeling driving past our houses. We had a couple of homes burned to the ground years ago, and anybody west to the burn site was trapped. There was no way to leave that Thanksgiving Day until the fire authority got the fire out and it was safe. This also ties into the water as well. We feel there is need to be fire hydrants installed for that many units, especially if it's a senior home. We live very close to the very forested mountainside here, and a fire would spread very fast. Number 3, low-income housing would drop all of our property values. Senior low income is a double loss because seniors that live in their homes for 10 years plus do not pay the same property taxes. Low-income buyers will not advance themselves in equity either. They cannot sell their property under the guidelines of low income along with rising property values. I mean, my property value has like more than doubled recently. It's crazy. There have been other low income developments that are now vacation homes in our county. How do you control who lives in them, like locals driving to Summit or Jeffco for jobs? The Habitat has a requirement of $50,000 a year for seniors. Most of the people on this road are seniors, and they like to know who makes that kind of money to be able to afford one of these. It also states seniors shop locally, but we have no local amenities for them. We don't have health, we don't have a grocery store, we don't, and I know there's the bus, but that's kind of limited if somebody wants to walk to the store. Number 4, impact on residents that live nearby with noise, dust, pollution, light, crime, traffic, and such. Animals migrate down to this area for access to the creek because we've built all along this creek except for right here. We have pushed the animals out of their habitats and many have ended up on I-70. Number 5, selling the property for less than what it's worth. Estimated improved value in 2021 is $915,000. And the biggest bid for this is $450,000, and the other 2 want the land donated. That's a problem for a lot of community members in Clear Creek. Number 6, I did talk about that. There are no grocery stores, health clinics, child care. There's not even sidewalks for pedestrian walking to the local post office, gas stations, or the fast food places across. Why in today's times are solar systems not being implemented for these structures? That's number 7. Number 8, people want to know where the studies are for the environment, infrastructure, traffic, fiscal impact. And then number 9, they want to know when the county wants to start budgeting instead of putting bandages on their problems and making it the residents that have been living here so long sacrifice their ways of living. Between Idaho Springs construction, I-70 construction, and tourism, the locals feel like Clear Creek is becoming a place they don't want to live anymore. Is this really the best use for this property? And most of all, is this the last place you can find to develop for such needs? Who really benefits from these developments? The answer is the developers. We feel like this site should be used for open space and keep it the way it is. And at the most, maybe the child care use in the existing building. And most people do not want the building ripped down in this area either. It means something to them. The greenway running along the back of the property idea is also a waste. We have talked to folks walking or riding their bicycles through our community and they like it the way it is. If they wanted to be on a paved road, they would have stayed on the north side where we do believe the greenway should be designated. The north side for the locals to get out, as we all suggested at many other commissioner meetings. It's dangerous as much, we do not even walk on the north side anymore. What's happening to the project and the bathrooms that were to be constructed for the rafting and fishing folks at the end of this road? And then this is for me personally. or no, sorry, this is for them still. A lot of people want this project to be on hold as we deal with COVID because they like to be in person for these meetings so they can express their own issues. Let's see. And then for me, on a personal note, I would like to know what happens to the property that we own along the creek side of the property that goes all the way to the parking lot on the other side of the church. I know that's a lot of questions, but this is from a lot of people. This is from at least 20 people that were at that meeting. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jody. That definitely covered a lot, and you may have gone a little over 3 minutes, but you were representing a lot of people. So that I totally appreciate that. Yeah, I don't think there's any way I can go through and really address all your questions. I can tell you that a lot of the concerns that you mentioned are things that would happen later in a zoning process if it were to get to that point. And that this is really an initial conversation to raise the types of concerns that you are raising right now. This is not a stage of the process where a commitment will be made or a decision will be made. It's the public input level that we are at right now is to have exactly the conversation we're having, and the time to do the fiscal impact, do the studies on water, all of that happens at a zoning level. There's no reason why we couldn't also be discussing that here. I'm not trying to say anything to imply that your questions are not relevant or not appropriate, because they absolutely are. Those all are exactly the right things we need to be considering as we discuss something like this. So I appreciate everything that you were saying. And I would love to, if you are willing to, I would love to have a copy of that letter so we could share it with other people who were not present today. Is that possible that you could provide a copy of that to me?
Yes, I could email to you and to anybody else that wants to see it.
That would be great. And I think I think there might have been some also comments that Kathleen might want to respond to. Kathleen?
Oh, I would just like to get a copy of
you're
the
good.
letter.
Okay, yeah.
I would say that before we purchase a piece of land with federal funds, with the CDBG funds, we do have to do an environmental impact. So we would do a phase 1, but we would also do an environmental impact that we would do before we purchase the land that looks at pollution and noise and wildlife and endangered species, and it covers all of that. So that is part of the process, but it doesn't go into play until we get the land under contract. So I want you to know that that is something that does all get looked at. It just doesn't get looked at yet because it costs money to do. And we don't have a contract. So, but that does all get looked at in the NEPA environmental process.
Thank you though, Jody. And I appreciate you all taking the time to collect your thoughts and to put them together in such an organized fashion. It really will help the process and help us be able to really understand the concerns that you have in the community. It was really well stated. I appreciate that. Who else do we have with questions?
Amy, I just crossed Bob over. He should be here.
Okay, and I think Shane was here too. I don't think we've heard from him yet either. So maybe Shane, if you wanted to add something, and then we'll go to Bob.
Yeah, I just have a question actually.
Okay.
So I know Habitat for Humanity put it in here, but it states that they both build these low-income homes, our property values will either stay the same or go up. And every house that I've ever bought, purchased, sold, when they do it, when the realtor looks at these homes and what they can sell them for, they look at houses that have sold in this area. So my question is how can you sell a home for $200,000 and not drop someone else's property value? if it's right next door to you?
Kathleen.
Let me answer that. So the homes, we sell the homes at appraised value. And one of the reasons we do that is just for that reason. So if it gets picked up as a comp, the comp gets picked up at the appraised value. So right now, the houses that we have in Empire are appraising around 350, 370, somewhere in there. So that's what those houses are selling for. So that's what gets picked up when the comps are done. Now, the first mortgage amount is what we use to keep the houses affordable. So that's what I was talking about with how we do the first mortgage amount. That's what the family pays on. That's kept at 30% of their income. And then there's a second mortgage in there to prevent basically to prevent the family from flipping the house and saying, you know, thank you for the 100 grand if there's, you know, 100 grand difference. So that's how we do it. And we're very purposeful about that.
Thank you, Kathleen. I think next is Bob. You had a question or a comment?
Yes, thank you. The proposal by Habitat is for senior housing, but is that a necessary part of the proposal? Could it be for anybody that met those income standards?
So currently the proposal is as a senior development. We are in the very early phases of this. If that is something that as we go through this, the community is interested in changing, I can certainly go back to my board of directors and see if that's something that they would be interested in. But I would say that there is a need for senior housing in Clear Creek County. There's a big need for senior housing. And we are also doing workforce housing. So this is not our only build in Clear Creek. We are doing 8 units in Idaho Springs. We are finishing out the 8 units in Empire. We will continue to look for more land where we can build more workforce housing as well. Even though we said some of these seniors probably will be in the workforce still. But yeah, as it currently stands right now, it is a senior housing proposal.
Like to make a comment. I had my hand raised from the last one.
Okay.
Is that okay? All right. Thank you.
Sure, Tammy. Sorry, I didn't see there.
That's okay. When back to the appraisal question of your values versus the ones across the street, if this is affordable housing community, that is not a comp that would go to a single family home across the street, because again, that's the way it's built. So they don't see the same as appraisers. They'll know that this is how the community was built and that's why it was priced this way. So it won't be a comp like apples to apples. And so you can keep your values.
Oh yeah.
Just you'll get your values as the same as you've always had.
I see.
Say, Amy.
Yes, Brian.
I wonder, Kathleen just addressed in the process of development where the environmental impact statement would come into play. And that was a great answer. And I think it helped explain the process that we would go through if we were going to enter into an agreement with Habitat or anyone else for that matter. So I wonder if there's any other process explanations that we can provide for those who are watching tonight with respect to how a development would occur. And there may not be, but again, I just thought that Kathleen offered up a great comment about how that would happen in the process in terms of when an environmental impact statement would occur. Are there other aspects of process that might help some of the residents understand when some of these things would happen if we decide to go down the road with one of these submittals?
Yeah, I think that's a great suggestion. We Fred Rolandhagen is here in the attendee line. Maybe he could be brought over and talk a little bit about what a rezoning process would include, because this process is the property is zoned for single family homes. And so any development that took place would have to go through a rezoning process, which has several criteria, as I was mentioning earlier. Fred, I don't know if you can give a little explanation to address what Brian was talking about, what sort of steps that would address some of the issues around things like water testing and environmental concerns. What are the steps of a rezoning process that offer some of the protections that the community members have been talking about tonight?
Maybe the short answer is with both proposals that I've heard tonight, both proposals would be required to go through a rezoning process and a subdivision process. In both of those processes, what you do is they submit an application and we evaluate those applications against the regulations that we have for rezoning and subdivision. So we essentially look at everything. You have to have, but before it's approved, you have to have evidence of a legal and adequate water supply. You have to have evidence of a legal and adequate sanitation method. You have to have evidence of a legal and adequate road system. We look at, there's a whole list of development standards that are evaluated, including impact to wildlife, impact to the stream system. Trying to think, I'm drawing a blank because I don't have it in front of me, so I apologize.
Is fire suppression on that list?
Fire suppression is on the list, but actually that's in the building code. So, it actually, even if the property is rezoned and subdivided, you're not going to get a building permit unless you address adequate fire suppression, and that comes in a number of different ways. Whether it's additional fire hydrants, or whether it's monitored suppression systems in the homes, or other methods that are prerequisites to getting a building permit.
Right.
That's what I can think of off the top of my head. I apologize. I'm not as prepared as probably should be.
Well, that's because I just called you up. Thank you, Fred. But I think the key is that there are several steps now, you know, that help us assess things, and that there is an opportunity also to do a fiscal impact review that does help us understand what the impacts to the county organization and our costs and our ability to support the additional services that to calculate and project what the additional service expenses will be, and you know, understand the impact to county government that will have. So all of that would be part of considerations to be able to move forward on this. It will be, if it is to proceed, it will be a lengthy process that would have a lot of steps that people who are trying to build a building probably shake their fist at a little bit, but for the folks that are trying to make sure that this is done responsibly, those things are intended to offer protections. So that is the intent of that process. Fred?
Yeah, no, you shook my memory. Thank you. One very important part of the process is, as you said, we send referrals out to other county departments and other referral agencies that provide services to this property and to the area, and it gives them the opportunity to comment to the county and respond as to what kind of an impact this kind of development would have on their ability to provide services.
Thank you. Okay, so let's see here. I think Mary Jane is next on the list.
I'll unmute. Hi, everyone. I haven't been involved in county stuff so much, but I have in the background. Mary Jane Lovely, longtime county resident and with children, Gold Digger, children graduated from Gold Digger, Clear Creek, grandkids that are in Clear Creek. And I'm so happy to see you, Molly, involved in all this. It's so great to see you. I just love our kids doing great. And I just wanted people to know that I've been involved for over 30 years, and Randy will appreciate this, in the I-70 struggle and pushing for community and cultural resource surveys, et cetera, through the DLD area. And we've managed to keep, and Randy will appreciate this, keep our communities, we've made CDOT and the powers that be realize how important our communities within Clear Creek County are to us. And, you know, I-70 is a blessing and a curse, and the Greenway is doing wonderful things, but proper development is proper. And I think we haven't used the word sprawl in this conversation as far as I've heard, but that ugly word sprawl, I think, needs to be brought up sometimes when we're connecting communities too closely, or maybe we're not. We have to at least be considering it. I also think housing, and do all of you, I know Randy, you remember the Joe Minicozy Urban 3 study, and Amy, have you read that? That is
I'm not sure.
It's an amazing study that shows counties and cities should construct housing where infrastructure already exists or where it's easy to get, that you shouldn't be doing housing where you've got to bring everything into it already. As Carrie Ball pointed out, we already have so many places that need upgrading and updating that I really feel the county should consider housing in places that are walkable to services, whether it's for senior citizens or families. Putting an island of a housing development out in DLD, even though it's only 5 miles from Idaho Springs, is not conducive to the way people want to live today, in my opinion. So I'm hoping that the county commissioners, and Amy, if you haven't read the Joe Minicozy Urban 3 study that says build our infrastructure, build our housing where our infrastructure is, and use that infrastructure and participate with the communities that need that housing, whether it's workforce, whether it's senior, whether it's whatever. But I know Idaho Springs has identified 20 sites that we can build housing on, and it's walkable to services. So that's kind of my 2 cents. And let me see, but am I close to city centers, walkable, quality of life? And Carrie, I'm listening to you. You live in DLD because it's more rural, but there are needs for all kinds of housing in the county. So I'm kind of rambling here, but I think I kind of, and Randy, you'll appreciate this too. Have we done the cost benefit ratio of actually putting housing on this DLD site versus some sort of sustainable commercial operation that would actually be revenue property tax producing for the county? So I just think we need to look at where we're placing our people. I mean, that's my thoughts. And if anybody hasn't read the Joe Minicozy Urban 3 study for the county, it is very telling. And the county adopted it and said, yes, we should be building where our infrastructure exists. And that's my comments.
Thank you, Mary Jane.
Yep.
That is also very helpful. And so that is a county study, you said?
Yeah,
I'm not familiar with it. Great.
No, it's an amazing, we brought in it,
I will
and Tammy
find it.
remembers it. Tammy, we brought in Happy City and Joe Minicozy.
Great.
And it's all about quality of life. And so that Happy City study and the Joe Minicozy Urban 3 study are very important, I think, to where people live in the county.
Mm-hmm. Well, I will look that up. Thank you for that reference, Mary Jane. I appreciate that. So
and I hope, George Marlin, if the county commissioners haven't seen it, we'll be happy to do a primer on that.
Very good. I think that's great. I appreciate those comments, Mary Jane, and I will make sure to look that up. I wanted to also just make sure to address some of the questions that have come up through the chat and that maybe did not get into the conversation, to circle back to those. So I want to, if there's, unless anybody other has any hand to raise right now to continue this conversation. Okay. So one of the questions that came up was a question to Mike about the square footage of your house, of the cabins in your proposal, Mike. What was the price per square foot of those homes? That was in the chat from Joanne Sorensen. Mike, can you answer that? Are you out there?
Looks like he's frozen again.
Yeah.
I'm gonna answer.
Maybe
for him,
help?
if that's
Thank you,
okay.
Tammy.
So when you go to the really small ones, you can almost get, okay, hold on, I'm gonna say it, it's almost $350 to $400 a square foot. And you might go like, what? Are you kidding me? What happens is the smaller the home, the higher the square footage.
Sure.
But then we have them where you can go for like $150 to 200. So I'd say 200 on an average.
Okay, great. Thank you. Another question was if there was any existing water quality data that we have for the site right now. And I don't know, Lisa, can you answer that question? Are you out there, Lisa Laban?
Yes, sorry, we don't have data right now on that. So we will work on that and produce it as the process continues.
Okay, great. And then somebody else asked about in the case of, perhaps this was really for you, Kathleen, about how taxes work, property taxes, like how does for a land trust situation, how does that affect property taxes if they're really only paying taxes on the value of the building, or what's the deal with that? And for that questioner, if I didn't frame that correctly, please let me know.
That's a great question. I don't know the answer for sure, but my understanding would be is that the owner of the house would pay property taxes on the house, and then the land trust would be paying property taxes on the land, would be my understanding. I've not seen this, so I don't know for sure. I can look that up. The homeowner would be paying like a lease on the land, and so that's where that money would come from for the community land trust to pay the taxes. So,
okay. And George, you just commented that you thought the question was referring to the senior homestead exemption.
Yeah, that's the way I interpreted the comment. It's if a senior is in the same home for 10 years, they get a discount. I will say that the state backfills that to the county. You get a discount on your property taxes, and then the state pays the county back for it.
Oh, okay. Okay. Any other comments or questions? Very good. Well, I think then that we can move to closing up the night at this point. I believe we did address all of the questions in the chat. If anybody out there feels like their question in the chat was not answered, I know there were some other comments. Some folks were noting that there's definitely plenty of wildlife that are present on that spot, and that we might want to be connecting with some of the other stakeholders like open space or the Charlie's Place, or the perhaps emergency operations to be talking to them about it. And they would certainly be stakeholders that would be engaged in any sort of rezoning process, which is really where the rubber meets the road on this process. But I think we have covered everything, if any, and I wanted to also just make sure that everyone knows that the online comment period will stay open until at least August 31st, if not beyond that. So if you think of things on your drive home, which is, not that you actually are driving home since you're probably already home, but you think of things after the meeting is over, you can add a comment at the in the online forum, and we are compiling those and taking those quite seriously. It is possible that one outcome of this process will be that we will go back to the public and seek more proposals. Your comments may influence a result in another direction. We simply don't know. We are not committed to a certain step from here. The public input is a very relevant element to this process at this point. So I would then turn it to the commissioners for any closing comments you guys might have. George, Randy, anything?
Maybe I'll start this time around. So summary of what I heard, folks who live in these neighborhoods don't want to feel like they live in a city. And I understand that you don't live in a city now. Would love to invite future feedback about what elements of city life it is you're trying to avoid. Is that commercial businesses? Is that sidewalks where pedestrians can go by your house, like mine? I heard concerns about water availability and whether there's enough water in the ground to serve this. I heard concerns about road impacts, and I heard concerns about fire egress. So I just want to obviously we heard a lot of other ones, but those are the ones that really, I think, kind of hit home for me. And maybe what I'll say is what we didn't hear is from some voices who are not in our community. Those are peers of mine who don't live here, and they don't live here because it's a hard place to scrape out a living. And that's the problem we're trying to solve. And I want this to be the kind of community where the folks who work here can afford to live here. The folks who grow up here can build a future here. And I know that that's going to involve some more housing. And I know that there's a lot of other issues out there. There's the secondary home issue. There's the short-term rental issue. A lot of dynamics to this. I think I view that one of the important factors is we lack sufficient housing supply. My own perspective on that is rather than shoot for very large scale developments anywhere, I would rather shoot for infill development sort of everywhere. And that's just my perspective and where I'm coming from. So I want to thank everybody for taking the time to come and talk to us and help us understand what's going on. And we're certainly going to consider all of this.
Yeah, I think the first thing I'd like to say is, I think Amy mentioned that Jody talked for a long time, but I think she spoke for a very large piece of her community, and that she could have had as long as she wanted and it would have been okay because of that. And I appreciate the fact that she synthesized so much of her community's comments for us. I think that was very, very helpful. So I appreciate that. And if you'd have taken another 30 minutes, I'd have just kept listening. It would have been fun. And I think you probably would have found more good things to say. I think scalability is probably really important. And I think that's what we have to think about when we think about some of the other comments, which are infrastructure being where the stuff is and where the homes are, and that transportation being among those, egress and access. And I think that those are all really important factors. And I think the final thing is, I think George summed up almost everything that was said. And so for that reason, I don't think I have to say a whole lot more, except that I think that to continue to send those comments to us will be very, very helpful. And then I'd also like to emphasize that it's not a matter of us choosing among these proposals that were made. It's a matter of if we choose one of these proposals, as well as if we do, which one, as we go forward and collect all the rest of the comments and also hear the rest of the information we get from staff. No decisions tonight for a lot of reasons. So thanks.
Thanks, Randy. And Peter, I see you came on screen, but we also have, looks like an attendee who wishes to make a comment. I see someone named Andy and Hillary.
Hi, yes, thank you. I just wanted to comment. I tried to jump in at the end, but I'm actually glad I waited a little bit just to comment off of the one individual that said he'd like to hear from somebody outside the community. We actually are one of the homeowners of the vacant homes that I think Jody was referencing originally. So anyway, to kind of define city, I guess I don't really want to go down that path, but I mean, we live in Castle Rock, but we bought the place up there to get out of the city, to get away on the weekends, to, you know, kind of get out of this community. So it is a concern when you see more and more building and development going on there, because you're going to those places to get away from all of that. And I understand that we're kind of the outsiders, but I just thought it was important to say that because I 100% support the community and what they're doing there. I think Shane actually came down to our cabin and talked to us the other weekend, and it was awesome, just like getting to talk to those folks and all that stuff. And I just really want to support their cause. So, I mean, that's all I had to say.
Thank you.
And I just want to clarify that comment. I wasn't intending to imply that I want to hear what folks outside the community think. I just am aware of the experiences of a lot of members of this community who no longer live here.
Mm.
And Amy, I just came on screen because the board was back here for
Yeah.
comments.
Okay. Thank you. Well, do you have anything you want to say, Peter, about next steps, or, all right. Brian, what about you? Do you have any comments in closing?
I just think we got some great comments from the surrounding neighborhood tonight, and they're going to inform whether or not we move forward with these two submittals or whether or not we choose to go back out. I think we just got some great comments from the residents that we need to take in mind as we work with the board to determine where and how to move forward in terms of our next steps.
Mm-hmm.
Good meeting.
Yes, thank you. And the one other thing I didn't hear in the summaries that either George or Randy mentioned was the reference to the past community meeting and the interest in a childcare center, which was just added in the comments again, just as a reminder that that was something that the community has asked for in the past, and is another consideration that is worth just noting again verbally here. So yes, thank you very much. And again, please feel free to and take the time to go visit the forum.clearcreekcounty.us and make your way to the West Dumont Road Review project review page and continue to offer comments and keep your eye on that page. We'll continue to reach out. You can subscribe to that page to continue to get posts, to get communicated with about what's happening. And thank you for a great meeting. That's it. Good night, everyone.
Thank you. Good meeting.
Thank you all.